Hi, this is Rigsters here. Come back to YouTube after a very long hiatus. I have live streamed on Twitch, and I'll provide a time skip for this part about channel status, my thoughts on updates, and what I'm going to be doing for the channel. And also, of course, I'm going to try to release today the air-to-ground part of the MiG-29, at least with the rockets. Bombs I'm still testing. And yes, this is a new module, the MiG-29 A Fulcurm. I'm not going to sound like Spudniker and say MiG-29 A Fulcurm the whole time, although he doesn't actually do that anymore. I just say that as a meme, because he used to do that in his old videos. He would constantly say the full entire plane name. So, this plane I pre-ordered months ago, and this was before the whole leaked Zoom call that happened, just so happened to be coincidentally on the day of, or the day on MiG-29's release. I personally think, long story short, that both companies are at fault. It does shed new light into the whole dispute that Raspam has with Eagle Dynamics. I'm not a drama channel. I'm not gonna go like on a long rant of like, you should do this, you should do that. Make your own informed decisions. I personally will just acknowledge that they're both at fault, and I feel bad for people that want to keep flying the Harrier, the F-15E, and Raj 2000, and the MiG-19, because it's very likely, although I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but it seems like there will become a day that those perspective modules I mentioned may only work in older versions of DCS and not newer ones. There's a lot of speculation and rumors and not hard evidence of when that's going to happen. It's just, it's likely will happen in the future. Enjoy them while you can, and I think it frankly sucks. And I'm not going to be one of these people that say, boycott this, do that, but I can't at the same time stick my head in the sand saying, all is well, nothing to see here, because there are people like that out there too. Me personally, I don't know what the future will hold with me considering modules from any DCS after this one I just did. There may be one or two I might consider in the future if they ever release, and if the game or sim, oh whoops, did I call it a sim or a game? That's a big question, and that also is a very divisive topic. I say it's a game with simulation aspects that are much better than most things on the market. What it does simulate well, it does. What it doesn't, it doesn't. There are better options for certain airframes, yes. Falcon BMS for the F-16 is a fantastic one if you want a cheaper, full fidelity F-16 that focuses mostly on it, with now them developing over time other planes like the F-15C. If you like that, go play that too. It's a free market. I mean, I recommend both to many people. I don't just only say DCS is the only solution. You can play what you like. I personally have stuck with DCS only because a lot of people I know still play this game more often than Falcon BMS, and the fact that the multiplayer, at least setting up server-wise, is still more convenient and has the most variety of planes and helicopters. That's mainly their main draw, and they still have a market advantage on that. Who knows in the future, because I've also have heard of micropose getting in on the not quite as full real, but more realistic market with Falcon 5. There's not a lot of information about it, It's very slow drip feeds. Would I consider buying that someday? I may consider it, but I'm not in a rush to buy anything really at this point. Now back to the topic of the Fulcurm. This plane on release a few days ago. I was live streaming it on Twitch. It's decent. I mean, there are definitely more realistic things you can do with it than the Flaming Cliffs version, which I'll show right here, because I do have the Flaming Cliffs version as well. If you do have both, if you want to fly the full fidelity version, it will say Fulcurm. If it's Flaming Cliffs, it will say Flaming Cliffs. And interestingly, that I happen to notice too, is the numberings on the Fulcurm change slightly. If you notice here, 7 is in the center. It's 4 in the non-full fidelity. And also you get, you know, of course, more ammo types and blah blah blah. So I'm going to put on the wingtips here, the R73s, and on the pylons I'll do the B8 M1 80mm MPP rockets right there, and then hit OK. I can't help that, the SRS tends to do that. And yeah, of course it's going to stutter the game like that. So anyways, we'll quickly go over how I started, and I'll have the manual in my other screen just in case if I mess up as usual. Alright, so it does come with a 115-page manual. It's decent. I mean, it's not going to light your socks off. I'm not like Spud Knuckler and basically eat the company's butt, so to speak. I would call it like it is. It's definitely one of their better manuals. Apache errors and F-16 errors, but that's not the point. Anyways, so simple startup here. This is not going to be full mil-simi or entirely by the books, but it should get you up and running 90% of the time, with some minor caveats to realism and blah blah blah. It's actually pretty straightforward. Click on this bracket right around here. If I can actually click on it. Yeah, it's a little bit finicky. You have to click it right here. And it makes a funny noise too. So you click on all those. And it flips up the engine assist, the fuel pump, the anti-surge, the DC-AC converter, the AC generator, DC generator, and ground supply. I will show in the special options how do you change to English, but for the sake of actually doing something interesting, I started with the startups and the fun parts first. I'll show the settings later in this video. So, with that being in mind, you do that. And then, just in case, we'll have the ground crew supply ground electric power.
Turn on the ground power. Copy.
Turn on the ground power.
Ground power is now on.
Okay, ground power is on, just in case. And what was the next thing to do here? There was one setting that I have to do that is very easy to forget. And let's see here. Yes, this is after engine start. Okay, so you do the all-important dampener bit test after engine start, which is kind of interesting, to say the least. So, you might be wondering, oh my gosh, there's so many switches, what do I do? Well, it's very simple. Below here, there's this metal bar. Click that. Wow, that was really hard. That turns on the navigation, that turns on the gyro, the main supply, the standby supply, the aircraft supply system switch, the radio, the AFCS supply, the IFF that doesn't really work well in multiplayer. That's a known bug. Oh no, there's bugs? Yes, there is. And record, I turned that off because I don't really find the need for it, but it's there if you want to turn it on. There's all important weapon supply power switch and the WCS, the weapon control system. That all turns on. Now, we need to switch the oxygen to 100%. I know that's not realistic, and those people are going to cringe to death and go, oh my god, and then they leave. So be it. So just click that on there, on the bottom left corner. It's a blue switch, can't miss it. It will say 100% oxygen. That I actually do follow. I don't know if they actually modeled the smoke damage or not, but just in case, just do it anyways, because there's going to be a time someday they'll actually model that. I don't know if it truly is modeled, because I don't like getting blown up. At least I try to avoid that. So anyways, we'll start up the engine here in a moment. Just have to, there is one control I do want to find real quick here under adjust controls, and that is the engine thing. Here we go. So it is under engine here. It should be the idle. Sorry, not engine. It's idle they want to do. Left and right engine idle. So just to be safe, if you bind under idle, the off/idle, be very careful if you do the /1, because what will happen is if you accidentally fat finger or press that, it will immediately cut off the engine, and then you'll be in some serious jeopardy. So it's safer just to do idle. Oh, whoops, that's not a button I wanted to do. There we go. So you just do that there to bind it to throttle left idle and throttle right idle. And then hit OK. Now the default keyboard bindings work just fine as well, which is right alt home for left and right shift home for right. You can use the keyboard for that. I know. You can actually do that. It's a concept. I'd recommend either method will work just fine. They do the same job. Don't be persnickety. If you have, use what you have if necessary. And so we got the left and we got the right. Good. So now we got them both in the idle. Now we do the very difficult task of finding the APU. This thing actually took me a while to find with some help from my good friend Mercer on the DCS Take Flight community. Highly recommend them. I also am a part of them in full transparency. I help assist with the F-16 primarily. I mean, it is my main module. Outside of learning the MiG-29, I've flown many different virtual modules besides the 16. And this is one that I'm going to try to get to instructor status sometime to help out people with that as well. Ground start. Default is the start mode, which is a switch right here. It will say start both, left, right. You want to press and hold the GND start, which is this silver switch right here. Press and hold it for about 3 seconds and then let go. And then I'll do F2 view so you can see the cool engine below. And I'll shut up so you can hear it. That's first engine start, second engine start. I'll go in the cockpit so you can hear it a bit. You also will see the RPM gauge build up here. Default idle is around 65 to 70-ish%. That is actually realistic. you almost never have the engine go below 60 unless there's like a fault or something happening to the engine. So you'll have to set up custom detents either in your joystick or throttle software. If you have one, I use a VKB system, so you can set up like custom detents with the Stex throttle system to make this more comfortable. If you do not have one, you have to troubleshoot and play around with it. Unfortunately, I can't find a solution for non-VKB owners at the moment, but I'm sure with Wing and Viperal, they have software tweaks that you can adjust as well. So, let's close this canopy so it's not so loud in here. It's a very complicated canopy. You left click this, or right click this once, sorry, fat fingered it, right click. That's the taxi position. Then, right click it one more time, and there you go. Wow. It's a 3-step process. It's actually one of the simplest plans to start up of all the 4th gen fighters in the game that are full fidelity, currently, as of recording. Very cool. So, next thing here, let's see. I don't know why I keep getting weird radio tones once in a while. The next thing to do, the all-important trim stability. Before we get to that, we have to do one quick thing on the back here. It's really hard to see. It's this navigation prep switch. It's a very, even with head tracking with the line clip, it's very hard to get at. Here we go. Just right click it, so it goes to OPR fast prep. That will prep the INS system of the MiG-29. While it's doing that, you'll see on this idiot lights display panel, it's not really called idiot lights, that's just a thing I usually call it, because it reminds me of a car. It's blinking dampener off. Do not fly the MiG-29 with dampener off intentionally. I did that once and I never did that again. It's extremely important to get that working. So this right here, this plain simple thing, or the world's most useless radar warning receiver you'll ever get to see in the game, or sim, sorry. I always keep calling the game or sim interchangeably. You click on this white button, and you hold it for about a second or two, and then let go. Now, what it should do is it should start the bit test. I think. Why cron failure? Interesting. So I have to I don't have to turn off the SPO, but you turn it on by right clicking into there. That is a very loud thing, and you can either bind this in settings or you can move the radar warning receiver. This part is usually where it gets a bit persnickety. So one thing I could do to troubleshoot it is I can turn off the AFCS again. So I'll turn it off, and it'll hit the bit test again. It still says a cron failure. Now, why is it doing that, I wonder? So let's disconnect the ground supply just to see why it keeps doing a cron failure. That is so weird. Normally it doesn't do a cron failure. That to me is concerning.
Turn off the ground power.
Maybe I have to turn off the ground power.
Copy. Ground power is now off.
I'm gonna try it again. Sometimes it's a little, like I said, this is probably the part that always will get you, is getting the dampener to work. Worst case scenario, I'll just hot start it. I don't want to waste a lot of time trying to troubleshoot it, but this is kind of like one of the things that has troubled the community, myself included. For some reason, I've had this problem too, where sometimes, oh, there it goes. Okay, so sometimes you have to be patient it's now doing the test. So you notice the stick sometimes will it'll move itself. Now it's actually doing something. So you have to turn off the electric ground supply. That's what was causing the problem. And now the dampener is blinking. So the good news is the plane now has almost done its bit test, right? Now I just need to turn on the... Did I turn it on? Yeah, I did turn it on. Bother. Sometimes this plane just does crazy things. So now it works. As long as you get that dampener thing solid, you're good to go. So, now that we got that, we put the flaps into the... We would put the flaps into the takeoff down position once we're ready for takeoff. The plane will yelp at you saying you need the flaps down. You can ignore that. So we'll throttle up here, just gently, like just a smidge below 80%. Perfect. Maybe just a little bit faster than that. My gosh, my grandma can walk faster than that. So I just go right here. We go to F2 view just to do like a cool shot here. Now the engines are a little bit loud, so let's turn that down a bit. So one of the cool MiG-29 facts, at least in the earlier MiGs, particularly the A version, is they have little louvers. So the air is actually being sucked from the top. You'll notice the doors are shut on the bottom here. This was because the MiG-29 was designed to take off of very poorly prepared runways. I mean, this was a frontline fighter, so it was not going to be in pristine, concrete-laden runways and taxiways. It was going to take off on very lots of dirt and gravel and stones, and to prevent your engine from going kaboom, because, you know, these engines will greatly explode after a while if they take that much ingestion of debris, and the pilot would just have to throw up his hands and go, well, comrade, there's no engine today, I no go. They don't actually do that, but the louvers prevent that from happening. They will actually open once you're in the air or at past a certain speed. I don't remember the exact speed. I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to do, well, actually, and that's fine. I don't mind learning, because I don't claim to know everything either. So that is what that is there for. It's a very easy plane to taxi. As long as you don't, like, slam the throttle to the nines, you should be fine with taxiing. Unfortunately, because of the static air pressure tube, it doesn't measure speeds below 30 knots when in the Imperial option checked. So, we'll get on to the taxiway. And the reason why I don't put the flaps down is because if I need to make really tight turns, there is a setting that it will show real quick here. And park the plane here under adjust controls. With the flaps extended, you can't do this, but with the flaps retracted, you can. It's the lock on NWS button depress. You press and hold this button to do tighter turns. And I'll demonstrate that real quick here. If using the rudder of holding that button, you'll notice the wheel moves a lot more. When I let go of that button, it doesn't turn as much. Oh no, he's doing a game thing. The realistic people have immediately clicked off after that and probably swore off my channel because I showed the game thing. Uh-oh. Anyways. So there's that. We make sure we go to the down position here. And you'll know if it's in the down position because the button is pushed in. And the flap indicator with this little handy plane icon, these little bars to the left and right of this wing, the flaps are the two bars below, the slats, which are automatic once airborne and retracted in the up position, will dynamically adjust based on speed once airborne, the top ones. The two big square ones are your air brake status. The three dots below this square the little circle dot that looks like ovals here in yellow, it might be a little hard to see. Those are your landing gear indicator. For your nose wheels, the center, top one, and your auxiliary wheels are the left and right. That is unusual if you come used to Western aircraft. It's actually really handy. I actually kind of like this indicator status personally. It's very ingenious. I like that design. I really do. I'm dead serious. Alright, anyways. Now we need to reset the trim into normal position here. Neutral it. So if you want, another important button that you'll need is the trimmer reset. Default keyboard binding, left control T. This resets your trim. You will definitely need to trim this aircraft. I personally use the trim button, aft, forward, left, right. That's what I personally do. It does it in pulses, and that's what I prefer to do. And there we go. Got that. Now let's go airborne. So I do full bill for this one. And we go down the runway. And we'll take off. At around 160, I'll gently pull back on the stick. Roughly 10 degrees right around there. And retract the landing gear, which is on this panel right here, G by default. I use a button for it. And then once I'm gained a little more speed, let's say around roughly 250 or so, I retract the flaps by pressing up or clicking on the up icon right here. And try not to hit into the ground and crash. And away you go. Now I can reduce the throttle just a little bit here. Now, unlike Western jets, you don't have a lot of throttle play room. Meaning that your throttle goes from 60 to 100. You have to set the detents and play around with it accordingly. And you may notice the icon says fail. I'm not worried about it because we don't really need it for this part of the flight anyways. It could also be a bug because, say it with me now, early access. So, it could be an early access bug or just creator incompetence. It's more likely what it is. Uh-oh. The mission's going to restart in 1 minute. Okay. So, we gotta arm the master arm, switch the WCS, weapon control system, switch it to OPT, and then we switch the lock air to ground button to down here to ground, and that should be it. Then you just press the, if I can actually find it real quick here, missile trigger fire on the stick hold test category. Ah, there we go. So unfortunately, the mission is going to actually restart. Oh man. That is such a bummer. But I'll quickly hot start and get to this point much faster. Yep, and then the server just restarted, which is great. Just great. Alright, welcome back. So, I'm going to hot start this one with the same test paint skin, double checking to make sure it is the same unguided rockets for transparency. I'm not going to cut this out or anything. I'm going to show you it all, including the annoying SRS beeps. That is not the skin I selected. Oh, and that is the, what should we call it? There we go. Anyways, I just didn't want that stuff to constantly beep in your head the whole time because that's going to be very annoying. So that's just some other things. So what I did was I turned off the SPO and I changed the radio channel, which is down here. This little orange knob that says channel that changes your radio channel. This also could be used for ADF and RSBVN. Oh god, I fumbled it. I'm not Mike Spudknocker. I can't always get all the acronyms right. How he does it, who knows? He's just that special. As in, like, he's really good at doing that. The channel button right here. And below that, double check to make sure oxygen is set to 100. Because that's actually one of the few realistic things that actually will follow. Because I take this game very seriously. The radar, I won't go over in this case, but that is very important to have in that position. The eliminate versus dummy. And just double check if everything else is all good here. And then retract the flaps, which is in the up position, so I can actually taxi better. So we'll start taxiing again. And let's see what we got here. We gotta make sure we do all that here. Yeah, let's take a look at F10 view just to make sure where I'm at. Okay, so I just have to taxi straight down. Perfect. So while I'm taxiing here, the only other thing I would say is in terms of should I buy this module? I would say if you're interested in a full fidelity MiG-29, then yes. If you already have the Flaming Cliffs version and you can't either A, afford it, B, don't want to have early access bugs or certain realistic stuff that simulates a bit better. Well, it actually simulates a lot of subsystems a bit better. What am I kidding? You're not really missing out outside of the textures and the English cockpit convenience. I am aware there is a mod you can do for Flaming Cliffs aircraft to convert to English. That is also a valid option. It's just there for the sake of convenience. So, let's take off again, full mil. Make sure I hit the down on the flaps. If you do it before you start, just before you start rolling, it's not the end of the world. It's a Russian aircraft. It can take it. The one nice thing about these planes is they do well for a lot of pilot-induced silliness. What I mean by that is they give you a lot more control over certain systems, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. That's up to the user. And retract the flaps again. Now that I have actually more time to do this. So the WCS, this panel right here, this is the weapon control modes. Now I can actually explain it in more detail. The main one you want to use for rockets is the OPT, which is as this handy chart that I can't keep my mouse on very easily. OPT, which is visual optical mode. This is like your CCIP/CCRP for non-high drag bombs. And make sure you arm it, and make sure it's right there, and we make sure the WCS air ground mode switch is set to ground, which is the down position. And you'll see on the HUD a circle with a dot, and of course the ranging as well. As for the graphics, they did a fantastic job. The art department of this module in particular did a really good job. I am actually very happy with the textures. If you have the texture set to normal in special, which I will show near the end of the video, is plenty for most people. You don't really need to, oh geez, I actually spawned at the wrong spot, didn't I? I need to go to 228. Creator incompetence, once again. I hit the wrong airfield, is what happened, but that's okay. I could still fly there. The textures are much more legible, because they're now, I guess, it looks like, I can't really eyeball it that well. I'm not a graphics persnickety person, but they look like they might be 4K textures. They might, some of them. I'm not the best person to judge on that. Why is there HMT Morse code is beyond me. I'll just switch channel to channel 1 on the orange one so you don't get that annoying thing to constantly do it. Because who wants to hear Morse code while I'm blabbing? If anyone actually cares to hear about that anyways. So why do you turn off the radar warning sounds? Well, there's a variety of reasons. They made the SPO thing more realistic, meaning that it's more useless. Well, I shouldn't say more useless. It's more of like, it's not as accurate and precise. Like, it's more modeled of actually how it would behave in certain environments. Meaning that it can pick up a lot more false returns depending on the plane's azimuth to certain targets. And it also will track friendly and enemy signals to radar emissions. It does have some uses as well. The B is and H indicator is sometimes a bit confusing. The dots will tell you what degree off of the plane it thinks the emitter is at. There's the N, 3, X, H, F, and C are various sub-modes of what type of emitter it thinks it's found. And of course, if it's blinking, basically long story short, if it's blinking red and it's flashing B and H, or H is flashing constantly, you're being actively tracked and it thinks a missile is going to hit your plane in the butt. Or in front of you, if it detects it. Like for example, this blinking X is found in X-band thing, and it's at the bottom right hemisphere, or above right hemisphere. Oh, now it's gone, so I can't actually translate that for you because, well, it keeps changing. It's basically a magic pinball. You never know what it's going to find. It may find something that's completely irrelevant. It's realistic. And in all seriousness though, I actually shudder to think of like the people that flew this thing for real. Like they went to an actual combat zone and they had to rely on this thing to help them find emissions. Man, it definitely would be nerve-wracking, I'll tell you. It is definitely not as simple to understand as the Western ones, so it takes a bit of practice and getting used to. Do I actually know if they ever had the sound on? Personally, I don't know. I would be very curious to know if they actually ever flew or know more about its technical data. If the pilots that flew these things for real life or currently, if they actually even have the audio on for it, because I'm sure that would get on somebody's nerves after a while if it's constantly yelping at you. As for the terms of how it flies, well, it flies like a MiG-29. Very agile, and with the dampener working, yes, I'm talking at you, dampener. With the dampener actually on and functioning properly, it's actually a dream to fly, provided you're above 200 knots. This is basically a very good within visual dogfighter. I've yet to test it against the legendary F-18 I'm the king of slow speed flight plane that has some unrealistic stuff like pulling the paddle, which yes, that was a function, but it's also a meme in the community because people are like, you can't pull the panel, you would break the plane. The flight crew guy would yelp at you for doing that. People do it anyways. That's why I say it's a game, not a sim. In that regard. It's still a good, fantastic module, by the way. I just was throwing shade. I actually have that module as well. This was my first full fidelity. So, I'm looking over the target area here, now that we're actually finally here. And, what we're going to do is to make sure the HUD's set correctly here. I'm at 10,000 feet. I'm going to reduce the throttle a bit to give myself more firing time and also to show you. Finally get to do the thing I actually said it would do, because it took a while. Okay, so now that we got to here, we see this circle dot. If you hold the NWS button, you can manually laser range find. Right about here, so right there. Perfect. This is manually lasing. So what I want to do as I approach the target while holding the NWS button is to try to keep it steady here. It's a little bit challenging. In between the launch authorized, press the weapon release. Perfect. And it'll give you a tone when you do that. That tone you were hearing, that loud do, that was you're authorized to fire mode. As you can see, when you do that, I fired a ton of rockets at that BTR-80. That allowed for a more precise rocket strike. You do not have to hold the NWS to manually laze. You can just use the CCIP pipper to dynamically adjust for you as well. It's a little bit harder to work with because sometimes it bounces all over the place. But once you get used to it, it's much easier. Now we'll go in for a gun trig second detent run with the 30 mil. Because yes, it has a 30 mil. It's aimed right around here without manually lasing. Now I didn't do a first detent, but as the crud goes ballistic. If I had a first detent bound, I would be able to manually laze and actually fire the gun a bit better. You only get 150 rounds. It would be nice to know where the ammo counter is, because I believe they have one somewhere in this cockpit. I have yet to find it. So, it's a very short firing time. So let's do manual of NWS here. So on the HUD here, if you see for a brief time, very brief time, there's like a little box that says like 2 and 1. The 2 and 1 is actually the real indicator. It's just very hard to see and annotate as you're flying. But if you see briefly, it was on the bottom right corner of the HUD right here. It'll say like a square 2 and 1. That's your cannon ammo status. And just do another gun pass, because why not? There you go. And that's all the ammo. Okay, let's go land, and then I'll show you the special options. So let's flip the NWS back to nav. Even though I didn't set a waypoint or steer point for it, I know where the airfield is roughly, because I've done this map so many times. So landing this plane can be a little tricky sometimes because of its quirks. So obviously, of course, you don't want to pop the landing gear out at 300 knots. You want to be below that. So to do that, we use the key binding B, speed brake switch depress. You either press and hold B on the keyboard, or you use a throttle mapping, or whatever stick mapping you use to deploy it. It's a little hard to see. If I can actually get the shadow to show. Right here, it'll show the speed brake status right there. Now, fun fact, if you have the centerline tank equipped, the speed brake will not work. That is by design. And let go, and then it will retract. Since the plane is lightly loaded, I don't have to worry about using the drag chute, but you can land without it, believe it or not. So that's what I'm actually going to do for this one. So we want to make sure the flaps is in the down position. That's the landing flap mode. And then we'll pull down the gear. You want to be roughly below 180-ish knots on funnel when you're lightly loaded. As for the funnel, you have to, of course, you want to be nice and slow and controlled. It's going to be a little bit harder as the plane pitches down a bit. Got to adjust my seating position a little bit. There we go. So, just want to point the nose towards the runway a bit. This is a straight-in approach. This is not by the books approach. It is definitely not realistic. And unfortunately, I did the rookie mistake of being too high. So I will have to probably pull the drag chute. No, actually I'll be able to land just fine. As long as you keep it between the 0 and 10 for the pitch nose axis, and then you hold down the wheel brakes. It does have anti-skid. You'll hear the tss noise very faintly. That's the pneumatic brake pressures engaging and disengaging so you don't skid out of control. And look at that. They're landing. Alright. Perfect. So when we go to special settings to wrap this up, click on the gear icon and go to special. And scroll down here to Fulcurm. This is where you change your settings. The customized cockpit. When you click on that, the default is in Cyrillic/Russian. The English standard is just English right here. I have not tested low and medium. If you have a lower spec PC, maybe try medium. I have no idea what low is like, or medium for that matter, but that is there. The HMD scab animation, you can have that checked on or off. By default it's on. I personally don't mind it, but it's there for a reason. You can have it spinning or not spinning. The throttle auto latch. So what this does, if I can actually hover over it, this game actually not explain it. Wow. So what it does, just keep that checked, because what you have to do is, if you don't have the auto latch enabled, it is not as seamless with the afterburner latch again, because you have to latch the throttle to engage the afterburner. And it's much easier just to have it checked on so you don't have to worry about it. As for the wheel brakes, in the MiG-29 Fulcurm, before I go, wrap this up here, it's brake lever depress. That was very confusing when I first got it, because it's DCS, so they have to name stuff differently. That is the button you want for your wheel brakes. By default, it's W key on your keyboard. So I hope that this video helps with at least the basics of the MiG-29. So my thoughts on the whole community thing, and as for me, depending on how this video does or what the community thinks of it, if anything, I may do some more MiG-29 content possibly in the future. I just wanted to get this video out because I haven't done one in a long time, because I was doing all sorts of games and community events and live streaming. So enjoy the MiG-29 for what it is, and this is Rigsters Journey, signing off.